Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I pray everybody is doing well. It's Asante, broadcasting live. I had to switch up my location. I'm broadcasting from New York, Brooklyn, New York to be exact. This is day 3. Day 3 of the motherfucking artist way. I was listening back to myself and I say fuck a lot. So I was like, I gotta stop doing that. Not that anything is wrong with saying fuck. I just like to be intentional and in control of my speech. I like to be intentional. I don't just want to say stuff because it's habitual. I want to be intentional. So today was a long day, y'all. And anytime I leave New Orleans, it's always like a thing, man. I be needing to do it, but I dread doing it at the same time. Every time I come back to New York, it's like mixed feelings because it reminds me of a life I used to live that I no longer live. But I lived in New York over 10 years. So I'm very much I ain't gonna say I'm a New Yorker, but I had that rhythm with me, you dig? You know, even in terms of the way I talk, I got that flavor with me. Do this like this. I got that flavor with me, you heard me? I got that, you know what I'm saying? So I'm a fusion. I'm a New York, New Orleans. I'm a New York, New Orleans baby. You know what I'm saying? Get my hair right. Yeah, do it like that. Try to get the perfect bun. Alright, so hopefully things are clicking and moving on YouTube. At some point, you dig, I'm gonna probably have to plug my laptop up. I should do all this shit before I start, but I'm committed to just showing up, coming as I am, man. Um, and I'm challenging myself to be present. I'm challenging myself not to be perfect. I'm challenging myself to just be human, and to realize that's more than good enough. So on a plane, you dig, I had a chance to begin to read the next pages of the next chapter of the Artist Way. Like I said, this is day 3 of the Artist Way, a spiritual path to higher creativity. So we just gonna get into it, you dig? And so I started reading a little bit. It's a bunch of pages of this motherfucker. So we gonna break this down because I've been making a point to say I'm not rushing through this. I'm taking my time, and we're going along on this process together. And so we haven't got to week 1 yet. We're still just talking about preliminary ideas and preliminary tools before we get into the work. So this chapter is called The Basic Tools. Okay? So we're going to get into this together. And as I read, if you have any questions, I want you to put them in the chat. Shout out to my YouTube. Shout out to my Twitch. Let's sub up. You dig? YouTube, let's super fan up. You heard me? Y'all got to get your boy out of the trenches of YouTube freemium. We got to glow up as a community. So we talk about the basic tools of artistry, but more importantly, the basic tools of this curriculum called the Artist Way. Let's get into it. There are 2 pivotal tools in creative recovery or creative discovery: the morning pages and the artist date. A lasting creative awakening requires the consistent use of both. I like to introduce them both immediately and at sufficient length to answer most of your questions. This chapter explains these tools carefully and in depth. Please read it with special care and begin the immediate use of both tools. Now, what are the morning pages? In order to retrieve your creativity, you need to find it. I ask you to do this by an apparently pointless process I call the morning pages. Now, the morning pages are really just journaling, but I love that she has a special name for it because they're important in the creative process. And I've heard people for years talk about the importance of journaling. So I love that that's a part of this creative practice. You will do the pages daily through all the weeks of the course, and I hope much longer. I've been doing them for a decade now. I have students who have worked with them nearly that long and who would no more abandon them than breathing. Jenny, a writer-producer, credits the morning pages with inspiration for her recent screenplays and clarity in planning her network specials. I'm superstitious about them now, she says. When I was editing my last special, I would get up at 5 a.m. to get them done before I went to work. What are morning pages? Put simply, the morning pages are 3 pages of longhand writing, strictly stream of consciousness. Oh God, another morning I have nothing to say. I need to wash the curtains. Did I get my laundry yesterday? Blah, blah, blah. They might also more ingloriously be called brain drain, since that is one of their main functions. There is no wrong way to do morning pages. I'm excited about being able to just write my ideas and thoughts out and not just having to live with them in my brain. These daily morning meanderings are not meant to be art or even writing. I stress that point to reassure the non-writers working with this book. Writing is simply one of the tools. Pages are meant to be simply the act of moving the hand across the page and writing down whatever comes to mind. Nothing is too petty, too silly, too stupid, or too weird to be included. The morning pages are not supposed to sound smart, although sometimes they might. Most times they won't, and nobody will ever know except you. Nobody is allowed to read your morning pages except you, and you shouldn't even read them yourself for the first 8 weeks or so. Just write 3 pages and stick them in an envelope. Or write 3 pages in a spiral notebook and don't leaf back through. Just write 3 pages. And write 3 more pages the next day. Words are a form of action capable of influencing change. Ingrid Bingus, I like that. Words are a form of action capable of influencing change. Have you ever been in love? Because I have. The last lover I had, the gravity, the impact of my words, I really bore witness to, as I was able to see my words directly cause changes in her biochemistry or her mood. And I began to really I began to really understand the gravity of of our words, the emotion, the energy, the intention behind them as I would dispatch them out, as I would release them into her orbit of perception. And then I came to understand that words are things. Words are objects. Words can give life and they can also harm people. So words, we think of words as these harmless things, but words are literally vibration. And vibration moves through the air and it can hit things and it can create transformation. So words are important. Words are a form of action capable of influencing change. That's real shit. Another quote. You need to claim the events of your life to make yourself yours. You need to claim the events of your life to make yourself yours. This is such a profound reminder that I have to be responsible with my words. I can't speak negatively. I can't speak down on myself. It becomes difficult because you want to believe what you see with your eyes. But I have to be mindful that words are a form of action. Even if I can't take physical action, I have to take action with my words. And I need to use my words to claim my life and claim the life I want to live. That's a form of creativity. That's a form of artistry. The words we speak. Although occasionally colorful, the morning pages are often negative, frequently fragmented, often self-pitying, repetitive, stilted or babyish, angry or bland, even silly sounding. Good. An example. October 2nd, 1991. I am up and have had a headache and have taken aspirin and feel a little better, although still shaky. I may have that flu after all. I'm getting to the bottom of a lot of unpacking and still no teapot from Laura, whom I sorely miss. What a heartbreak. All that angry, whine, and petty stuff that you write down in the morning stands between you and your creativity. Worrying about your job, the laundry, the funny knock in the car, the weird look in your lover's eyes. This stuff eddies through our subconscious and muddies our day. Get it on the page. The morning pages are the primary tool of creative recovery. As blocked artists, we tend to criticize ourselves mercilessly. Even if we look like functioning artists to the world, we feel we never do enough and what we do isn't right. We are victims of our own internalized perfectionist, a nasty internal and eternal critic, the censor, who resides in our left brain and keeps up a constant stream of subversive remarks that are often disguised as the truth. I'm gonna say that again. We are victims of the critic, the censor, who resides in our brain and keeps up a constant stream of subversive remarks that are often disguised as the truth. The censor says wonderful things like, "You call that writing? What a motherfucking joke." She ain't say motherfucking, that's me. What a motherfucking joke. You can't even punctuate. If you haven't done it by now, you never will. I definitely struggle with the if you ain't done it by now, nigga, you never will. Why are you wasting our time? Why you trying to be great? Why if you ain't done it by now, you never will. I personally fall victim to that particular negative thought quite often. You can't even spell. What makes you think you could be a creative? What makes you think you could write? So on and so forth. Make this a rule. Always remember that your senses, negative opinions are not your truth. Always remember that your censor, the thing that's censoring your greatness, those are just opinions and they're not the truth. This takes practice. By spilling out of bed and straight into the page every morning, you learn to evade the censor. Because there's no wrong way to write the morning pages. The censor's opinion doesn't count. Let your censor out. Hey, that's another reason it's important to get up early in the morning. You can actually wake up earlier than self-doubt. You can actually wake up so early that you're disoriented and the self-doubt hasn't caught up yet. You're gonna be tired. You're gonna want to go to sleep. But in terms of, no, nigga, you can't do it, you ain't shit. It takes a second to wake up. You could wake up early and then throw yourself into action. And then before you know it, you've done things that build confidence, that make you proud. And the negative motherfucker, they like, well, damn, I can't really say shit. Nah, this motherfucker getting busy. I got to catch him slipping later on in the day. Yeah. As opposed to you late, you kind of just fall out of bed. That bullshit done already started talking to you. So that's one of the reasons I love getting up like early, crack of dawn shit. You beat the negative thinker in your brain and then you immediately throw yourself in that proactive action and you build confidence for the day. Yeah. Because there is no wrong way to write the morning pages, the censor's opinions don't count. You can't mess it up. Let your censor rattle on, and it will. Just keep your hand moving across the page. Write down the censor's thoughts if you want to. Note how it loves to aim for your creative jugular. Make no mistake, the censor is out to get you. It's a cunning foe. Every time you get smarter, so does it. So you wrote one good play, the censor tells you. That's all there is. So you drew your first sketch. Nigga, so what? You ain't Picasso. It's so amazing that it's so amazing that when you outwork the negative thinking, the thing that say you couldn't do it, even when you prove it wrong, it'll come back and be like, so what, nigga? So what? I bet you can't do it again. That's why I've always admired people who just have extreme confidence, who don't even have that voice. The only voice they have is I can do it. It's done. Right? But that's a muscle that we can all develop. Inshallah. Think of your sensor as a cartoon serpent slithering around your creative Eden, hissing vile things to keep you off guard. If a serpent doesn't appeal to you, you might want to find a good cartoon image of your sensor, maybe the shark from Jaws, and put an X through it. Post it where you tend to write or on the inside cover of your notebook, just making the sensor into the nasty, clever little character that it is begins to pry loose some of its power over you and your creativity. Let's keep them. I'm gonna skip this part. Morning pages are non-negotiable. Never skip or skimp on morning pages. Your mood doesn't matter. This takes discipline. Some of y'all ain't got no discipline. Some of y'all have no discipline. I didn't feel like it. This is why I love David Goggins. David Goggins used to always be like, nigga, your feelings don't matter. I feel like women don't be resonating with that shit. What am I feeling? Your feelings don't fucking matter. You either do it or you don't. At some point, you gotta have ironclad discipline with some things. You just gotta do it, regardless of how you feel. There was a quote I heard one time. It said, "Some people need to feel it in order to do it. Other people will do it and then they begin to feel it later. And then other people, it just don't matter. It don't fucking matter whether they feel it or not. At any point in the process, they're just gonna execute like fucking machines." Never skip on your morning pages. Your mood doesn't matter. The rotten thing your sensor says doesn't matter. We have this idea that we need to be in the mood to write. We don't. I'm gonna plug up my computer. But let's just think about what she just said. We think we need to be in a mood to write. And we don't. You think you need to be in a mood to practice. And you don't. You think you need to be in the mood to go in the gym. And you don't. You know what I'm saying? Fuck, you just need to do it. And hold on 1 second, Chuck. I'm one of them people. Like there we go. I'm one of them people. Like, I like discipline. I like strengthening my discipline. I think that's one of my strengths. Like having the discipline to do stuff. Alright. Let's get back to it. We have this idea that we need to be in the mood to write. We don't. You don't need to be in the mood to do this shit. You just need to do it. You just need to have an ironclad decision to your commitment. In today's world, that's so difficult for people because people just want to do what the fuck they feel. Sometimes you feel like doing it, sometimes you don't. We gotta stop we have to stop negotiating with ourselves around our growth and our progress. At some point, you gotta get fucking serious. You gotta take yourself serious. If not now, when? Yesterday, you said today. Today is here. We gotta just do it. Morning pages will teach you that your mood doesn't fucking matter. Some of the best creative work gets done on the day when you feel that everything you're doing is just plain bullshit. She didn't say this, I did. The morning pages will teach you to stop judging and just let yourself write. So what if you're tired, crabby, distracted, stressed? Your artist is a child and it needs to be fed. Morning pages will feed your artist child. So write your morning pages. 3 pages of whatever crosses your mind. That's all there is to it. If you can't think of anything to write, then write, I can't think of anything to write. Do this until you fill 3 pages. Do anything until you have filled 3 pages. It's a muscle. Creativity is a muscle. It's not merely inspiration. It's doing the reps. It's building your proficiencies. We don't have to wait for inspiration all the time. We don't have to wait to feel like doing it. And actually doing it this way, you'll be better because of it. You'll be better because of it. I hope it's not extra choppy on YouTube. We'll see. We will see. Yeah, we gonna see. I'll look at it later. Let's keep going though. When people ask, why do we write morning pages? I joke, to get to the other side. They think I'm kidding, but I'm not. Morning pages do get us to the other side of our fear, of our negativity, of our moods. Above all, they get us beyond our senses. Beyond the reach of the senses babble, we find our own quiet center, the place where we hear the still, small voice that is at once our creators and our own. So the morning pages are a form of meditation. It's written meditation. A word is in order here about logic brain and artist brain. Logic brain is our brain of choice in the Western Hemisphere. It is the categorical brain. It thinks in a neat linear fashion. As a rule, logic brain perceives the world according to known categories. A horse is a certain combination of animal parts that make up a horse. A fall forest is viewed as a series of colors that add up to a fall forest. It looks at a fall forest and notes red, orange, yellow, green, gold. Logic brain was and is our survival brain. It works on known principles. Anything unknown is perceived as wrong and possibly dangerous. That's definitely Western European brain too. Anything unknown is perceived as wrong and possibly dangerous. Logic brain likes things to be neat little soldiers marching in a straight line. Logic brain is the brain we usually listen to, especially when we are telling ourselves to be sensible. That's also like man brain, right? Be sensible. Don't feel. Don't feel. Be logical. Be able to fit into a category that I can easily, wrap my mind around. Don't be too fluid. Don't be too flexible. Be stiff. Logic brain is our censor, our second and third and fourth thoughts. Faced with an original sentence, phrase, paint squiggle, it says, what the hell is that? That's not right. It's doubt. Artist brain is our inventor. I love this artist brain. The artist brain. Oh, wow. Artist brain. So logic brain and artist brain. Right? So I think about this just like left brain, right brain. But she calls it logic brain and artist brain. I'm rolling with her. You dig? The artist brain is our inventor, our child, our very own personal absent-minded professor. Artist brain says, hey, that is so neat. It puts odd things together. Boat equals wave and walker. It likes calling a speeding GTO a wild animal. The black howling wolf pulled into the drive-in. Artist brain is our creative, holistic brain. It thinks in patterns and shadings, nuances. It thinks in nuances. It sees a fall forest and thinks, wow, leaf bouquet, pretty, gold gilt shimmery earth skin king's carpet. Artist brain is associative and freewheeling. Mm. It makes new connections, yoking together images to invoke meaning, like the Norse myth calling a boat wave horse. I like this. It makes new connections, yoking together images to invoke meaning. In Star Wars, the name Skywalker is a lovely artist brain flash. Skywalker also sounds interestingly like a Native American epithet. I am young Skywalker. But you know George Lucas was studying, ancient myths and shit. Why all this logic brain, artist brain talk? Because the morning pages teach logic brain to stand aside and let artist brain play. Interesting. The sensor is part of our leftover survival brain. It was the part in charge of deciding whether it was safe for us to leave the forest and go into the meadow. Our sensor scans our creative meadow for any dangerous beasties. Any original thought can look pretty dangerous to our sensor. The only sentences, paintings, sculptures, photographs it likes are ones that it has seen many times before. Predictability. Safe sentences, safe paintings, not exploratory blurts, squiggles, or jottings. Listen to your sensor and it will tell you that everything original is wrong. Wow. Listen to your sensor and it will tell you that everything original is wrong, dangerous, and rotten. That's interesting. Safe. Who wouldn't be blocked if every time you tiptoed into the open somebody made fun of you? The morning pages will teach you to stop listening to that ridicule. They will allow you to detach from your negative sensor. Interesting. So the path to not giving a fuck, morning pages sound like a pathway to not giving a fuck. I love that. I like that very much. Transcending the inner chatter that prevents you from living your greatness. Because let's face it, most of us self-censor ourselves. We don't step into our greatness because not what other people, but it's the perception of how other people will perceive us that stop us from taking courageous action creatively. It may be useful for you to think of the morning pages as meditation. What the fuck did I just say? I just said that. Great minds. Great minds. Great minds, and I'm one of them. It may not be the practice of meditation you are accustomed to. You may, in fact, not be accustomed to meditating at all. The pages may not seem spiritually even meditative, more like negative and materialistic, actually. But they are a valid form of meditation that gives us insight and helps us affect change in our lives. I love what she's saying because when we think of meditation, we think of, I'm not thinking any thoughts, I'm quiet and I'm peaceful, when meditation may feel like war is happening inside of your spirit and your mind initially, until you get to a point where it's calm. You have to go through the storm to get to the other side. That's the same thing. I think when people think about healing, they think it's some like rosy process, and it's fucking very violent. And I've been thinking about that a lot. Even if you go back to day one, I talked about the divine utility of violence. You have to be willing to encounter violence to get to peace within yourself first, right? The pages may not seem spiritually even meditative, right? Okay. But they are a valid form of meditation that gives us insight and helps us affect change in our lives. But they are a valid form of meditation that gives us insight. Let's take a look let's take a look at what we stand to gain by meditating. Okay, let's talk about it. You know I like meditating. Me. Trying to make sure, you know what I'm saying, you my body could see me. There are many ways of thinking about meditation. Scientists speak of it in terms of brain hemispheres and shunting techniques. A brain, okay. We move from logic brain or artist brain and from fast to slow, shallow to deep. Management consultants in pursuit of corporate physical health have learned to think of meditation primarily as a stress management technique. Spiritual seekers choose to view the process as a gateway to God. Artists and creativity mavens approve of it as a conduit for higher creative insights. All of these notions are true as far as they go. They do not go far enough. Yes, we will alter our brain hemispheres, lower our stress, discover an inner contact with a creative source, and have many creative insights. Yes, for any one of these reasons, the pursuit is a worthy one. Even taken in combination, however, there are still intellectual constructs for what even taken in combination, however, they are still intellectual constructs for what is primarily an experience of wholeness, rightness, and power. We meditate to discover our own identity, our right place in the scheme of the universe. Ashe. And in this moment, I'm like reminded of, in this moment, I'm reminded of the importance of meditation and how when you don't meditate, you begin to lose yourself to worldliness or ideas about yourself based in ego, based in fear, or based in other people's perception. Meditation is an invitation to know yourself, to check in with yourself. Through meditation, we acquire and eventually acknowledge our connection to an inner power source that has the ability to transform our outer world. In other words, meditation gives us not only the light of insight, but also the power of expansive change. Wow. Wow, that's great. That's really good. We meditate to discover our own identity, our right place in the scheme of the universe. I love that. Through meditation, we acquire and eventually acknowledge our connection to an inner power source that has the ability to transform our outer world. In other words, meditation gives us not only the light of insight, but also the power for expansive change. Insight in and of itself is an intellectual comfort. Insight in and of itself is an intellectual comfort. Power in and of itself is a blind force that can destroy as easily as build. It is only when we consciously learn to link power and light that we begin to feel our rightful identities as creative beings. It is only when we consciously learn to link our power with enlightenment that we begin to feel our rightful identities as creative beings. The morning pages allow us to forge this link. They provide us with a spiritual radio set to contact the creator within. For this reason, the morning pages are a spiritual practice. Wow. Wow. Okay. It is impossible to write morning pages for any extended period of time without coming into contact with an unexpected inner power. Although I used them for many years before I realized this, the pages are a pathway to a strong and clear sense of self. Many of us suffer from a weak sense of self. That's why we operate with such a lack of courage and direction in the world. Healing in life is so interesting. And I'm thinking about my experience with journaling and meditation. These things make such a difference, not only in my day, but in my mental health. It seems like such a simple thing, but over time you begin to gain that momentum, and your inner person begins to gain tremendous strength and confidence and light, and you're able to show up in the world, you know, fortified as opposed to weak. Morning pages map our own interior. I love that. I love this. I love what they're saying. I love what she's saying. Without them, our dreams may remain terra incognita. I know mine did. Using them, the light of insight is coupled with the power for expansive change. It is very difficult to complain about a situation morning after morning, month after month, without being moved to constructive action. The pages lead us out of despair and into undreamed of salutes. She's talking, man. I love this. I love what she's saying. Right. Any sensible person, if you're writing about, I hate my life, I don't like my life over and over, at some point, the brain says, at some point, you're going to write, we have to change. This is how we change. At some point, you're naturally going to write out constructive next steps to alleviate that which you're complaining about. I bear witness. It's true. The first time I did morning pages, I was living in Taos, New Mexico. I'd gone there to sort myself out into what I didn't know. For the third time in a row, I had a film scuttled due to studio politics. Such disasters are routine for screenwriters, but to me they felt like miscarriages. Cumulatively, they were disastrous. I wanted to give the movies up. Movies had broken my heart. I didn't want any more brain children to meet untimely deaths. I'd gone to New Mexico to mend my heart and see what else, if anything, I might want to do. Living in a small adobe house that looked north to Dial Mountains, I began a practice of writing morning pages. Nobody told me to do them. I had never heard of anybody doing them. Cap, she ain't never heard of a nigga journaling. Come on now. I'm gonna let her cook though. You heard me? I'm gonna let her cook. I never heard anybody doing them. I just got the insistent inner voice that I should do them, and so I did. I sat at a wooden table looking north to the Dial Mountains and I wrote. The morning pages were my pastime. Something to do instead of staring at the mountain all the time. The mountain, a humpback marvel different in every weather, raised more questions than I did. Wrapped in clouds one day, dark and wet the next, that mountain dominated my view and my morning pages as well. What did it or anything mean? I asked page after page, morning after morning, no answer. And then one wet morning, a character named Johnny came strolling into my pages without planning to. I was writing a novel. The morning pages had shown me a way. Anyone who faithfully writes morning pages will be led to a connection with a source of wisdom within. When I'm stuck with a painful situation, a problem that I don't think I know how to handle, I will go to the pages and ask for guidance. To do this, I write LJ as a shorthand for me, little Julie, and then I ask myself, LJ, what should I tell them about the inner wisdom? Then I listen for the reply and write that down too. Answer, you should tell them everyone has a direct dial to God. No one needs to go through an operator. Tell them to try this technique with a problem of their own. They will. Sometimes, as above, the answer may seem flippant or too simple. I've come to believe that seen is the operative word. Very often when I act on the advice I have been given, it is exactly right. Far more right than something more complicated would have been. It's true. And so, for the record, I want to say pages are my way of meditating. I do them because they work. A final assurance. The morning pages will work for painters, for sculptors, for poets, for actors, for lawyers, for housewives, for anyone who wants to try anything creative. Don't think they are a tool for writers only. These pages are not intended for writers only. Lawyers who use them swear they make them more effective in court. Dancers claim their balance improves, and not just emotionally. If anything, writers who have a regrettable desire to write morning pages, if anything, writers who have a regrettable desire to write morning pages instead of just do them may have the hardest time seeing their impact. What they're likely to see is that their other writings seem to suddenly be far more free and expansive and somehow easy to do. In short, no matter what your reservation or your occupation, morning pages will function for you. She's a bit of a poet. She's a bit of a poet. Timothy, a button-down, button-lip, curmudgeon millionaire, began writing morning pages with a skeptic's scorn. He didn't want to do them without some proof that they would work. Give me the proof. The damn pages had no label, no Dun and Bradstreet rating. They just sound silly, and Timothy hated silly. Timothy was, in street parlance, a serious player. His poker face was so straight it looked more like a fireplace poker than a mere card sharp's defense. Practiced for years in the corporate boardroom, Timothy's invincible facade was as dark, shiny, and expensive as mahogany. No emotion scratched the surface of this man's calm. He was a one-man monument to the masculine mystique. Oh, all right. Oh, all right. Timothy agreed to the pages, but only because he had paid good money to be told to do them. Within 3 weeks, straight-laced, pinstripe, Timothy became a morning pages advocate. The results of his work with them convinced him. He started, heaven forbid, to have a little creative fun. I bought guitar strings for the old guitar I'd lying around, he reported one week, and then I rewired my stereo and bought some wonderful Italian recordings. Although he hesitated to acknowledge it, even to himself, Timothy's writer block was melting. Up at dawn, Gregorian chants on the stereo, he was writing freely. Let me tell you something, dog. Gregorian chants are fire. Fire, you heard me? I started listening to Gregorian chants last year. Changed my life. Beautiful. 10 out of 10 will do again. This is a great quote from Pablo Picasso. Painting is just another way of keeping a diary. Painting is just another way of keeping a diary. Not everyone undertakes the morning pages with such obvious antagonism. Phyllis, a leggy racehorse socialite who for years had hidden her brains behind her beauty and her life behind her man's, tried the morning pages with a great deal of surface cheer and an inner conviction they would never work for her. It had been 10 years since she had allowed herself to write anything other than letters and bread and butter lists. About a month into the morning pages, seemingly out of nowhere, Phyllis got her first poem. In the 3 years she has used pages since, she has written poems, speeches, radio shows, and a nonfiction book. You go ahead, Phyllis. I'm going to pause for the cause. Matter of fact, I'll read to the end of this page. Anton, grumpy but graceful in his use of the pages, accomplished unblocking as an actor. Laura, talented but blocked as a writer, painter, and a musician, found that the morning pages moved her to her piano, typewriter, and paint supplies. While you may undertake this course with an agenda as to what you want unblocked, the tools may free creative areas you have long ignored or even been blind to. Ingeborg, using the pages to unblock her creative writer, moved from being one of Germany's top music critics to composing for the first time in 20 years. She was stunned and made several ecstatic transatlantic calls to share her good news. Often, the students most resistant to morning pages come to love them the best. In fact, hating the morning pages is a very good sign. Loving them is a good sign too. If you keep writing even when you suddenly don't. A neutral attitude is the third position, but it's really just a defensive strategy that may mask boredom. Boredom is just what's the use in disguise. And what's the use is fear. Mm. I've been saying that a lot lately. What the fuck is the use? What's the point? And boredom is just what's the use in disguise, and what's the use is fear. And fear means you are secretly in despair. I've been in despair lately. I've definitely been in despair, man. Lately, it's been a fucking tall task just to feel hopeful. You know what I'm saying? So put your fears on a page. Put anything on the page. Put 3 pages of it on the page. The most potent muse of all is our own inner child. The most potent muse of all is our own inner child. Wow. So then she gets into the artist date. We're going to save the artist date for tomorrow. And we'll get through the rest of this. Now, what is today? Today is Thursday. Tomorrow will be Friday. And let's see. Week 1 starts. I may start week 1 on a Sunday though, because she encourages us to read a chapter before we start a chapter. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, earthlings as well as extraterrestrials, it's your boy, it's Asante Amin. This has been the 3rd day of the Artist Way. We're going on a journey. I'm showing up for myself. I'm showing up for you. And maybe at some point somebody else looks at this shit. Who knows? Or maybe nobody ever sees it. That's not why I'm